Howdy guys, Jez here from WhiskefyTV. What the fuck does that say? Howdy guys, welcome to another episode of WhiskefyTV. I'm your host Jez. This is the Bourbon Dungeon, I think. It is 127th episode here. I really wanted to kind of get this one like as close as I could to it, but then I just ran out of bottles, so I guess we're doing this one now. That's what we do. We are doing something. Do you know what? This is like my fourth time recording this, because I messed up the first 4 copies. I love it. So this is what we're doing now. We're just going to work with it. I have a bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel strength. Let's get this sucker popped. Dramatic, you ready? Amazing. Let's check this sucker out right here. Now, as I said, Jack Daniel's barrel strength, barrel and batch, pick number 1. Now, bottle pop, we'll get it poured. You guys know I'm a sucker for a good old bottle pop. So let's get her in frame. Let's get and like we normally do, episode since last spill. I didn't spill it last week. We're on episode 7, so Jack Daniel, old number 7. We are now number 8. Very happy. Quickly write that one down so I don't forget. Now, as I said, Jack Daniel's single barrel strength, barrel and batch, pick 1, or barrel 1, essentially. Why is there so many barrels? Because I don't know. Why is there so many barrels in the name Jack Daniel's barrel strength, barrel and batch? Too many words. Lots of words. 129 proof, 64.5% ABV. Now, runs a new charred American oak cask. It's 80% corn, 8% rye, 12% malted barley. Comes into Australia at about $175. In the US, you're looking at about 170 odd bucks, which bang on. Now, I didn't hit the age statement because on this bottle it is non-age stated, but we normally see the barrels range from anywhere between 6 to 8 years old, because they sit at the highest point of that warehouse and they're just grabbing them as they see fit. Obviously, this one was picked. Oh, I didn't actually write that down. It was bottled on the 10th of the 3rd, 21. So this has been sitting around for over 12 months. Here, essentially. Obviously 6 months on the ship, landed end of last year, obviously sitting here. Here we go. I've just been super lazy with content. That's on me. Now, I won't read that out. I will read this out though. So let me run through the expression info and notes, and then so you guys can kind of get a feel of what I'm feeling for this release. So, start from the top. Ray Daniel and Jack Daniels kind of go hand in hand. Now, if you guys don't know who Ray Daniel is, he is that smiling assassin that works at Webster's. Now, you will normally see him just running the show because he's an absolute operator, and I love him so much. He's a beautiful human. But he also is half of the brand that is Barrel and Batch. Now, when Ray from Barrel and Batch dropped that he will be releasing a Jack Daniel's product, I got hella excited because A, huge fan of Jack Daniel's, and 2, I just love anything that Ray picks because he's just got that palate. You just like, I know that hits different. So the stakes did get raised though. So when we've seen barrels we picked for Australia before from Jack Daniels, we'll normally see them come in at 45%, which is like super basic compared to the US, which hits about 47%. So we lose 4 proof points, 2%. They obviously got elevated when he said that he will be dropping a barrel strength release, and at 160 odd bottles, we were like, what? There's no way we could kind of actually get, I guess, those kind of numbers for Australia and like deal with the whole market, because like people are missing out at that point. It's very sad for the people that missed out, but I have a bottle, so I'm very happy. Now, the neck tag is obviously a talking point. You won't see these on your normal Jack Daniels releases, but this one says barrel and batch, barrel 1. I assume that there is more barrels coming, because why would you name it barrel 1 if you don't have more barrels coming? That's ridiculous. So I'm excited. Hopefully he's got more in the works. Hopefully they're coming soon, but obviously glassware, bottles and everything else, everything's taking a lot of time because they can't get glass. And these are not easy bottles to kind of make, because like the base is so glass heavy. Like it's a lot of glass going on there. A lot of glass. But they do use these fancy decanter-esque bottles. So they look pretty, they are pretty, and not your typical handle Jack Daniels old number 7. Alright, maybe get a cheeky bottle chug while we're here, because you know, when in Nashville. Really sets the pace for this evening, I guess. Actually, that wasn't too bad. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, obviously, I didn't cover any real Jack Daniels facts out other than like the high age, everything else. But y'all know how much I love Jack Daniels anyway, so I've probably covered everything 4 times over in the previous stuff. But what I will say about this is Jack Daniels is 100% a bourbon. I will fight you outside about it, minus that Lincoln County method, which uses that 10 feet of maple charcoal. They just run all their juice through, which delivers this product. It's obviously a huge talking point for like the bourbon community and American whiskey community. They're like, we're Tennessee whiskey. It's like, well, you're basically a bourbon, but you know, fight me. Now, let's get into the tasting notes. So, obviously, as per usual, I kind of jumped ahead and was able to prep and taste and go through everything just to kind of give you guys a more rounded experience. Now, I also, on this round, I did just add a little bit of water as well. So when I had my blend set up, I added a little bit of water out of these cheeky water droppers, and just wanted to really get a good idea of what it was proofed down with like 3 drops of water in probably about 15 mils. Maybe, probably sounds a little bit more, but I just kind of eyeballed it into a blend. Now, I will give you the normal notes and then we'll just kind of go off on a tangent and give you guys the other stuff as well. So, on the nose, there is a big maple bomb, and it is so obvious. There's just all this maple sweetness. There's a heap of vanilla, some caramels, really just coming to the surface. They're obviously boring bourbon stuff. It's like vanillas, caramel, blah. But yeah, there's just that. There's a hint of banana there as well, but it's like washed out with that maple, which is really interesting because obviously it's just pulling from that maple charcoal they use, from that maple sugar something or other. Yeah, it's just so damn sweet. God damn. There is also, I also wrote down as well, they're like proof down, you're still getting these banana bread notes. So you're not missing out on anything. for like a, say, Jack Daniel's kind of properties. But you add that couple of drops of water into that 15 mils and it kind of explodes to more of like a bready banana kind of vibe. You guys, like if you drink Jack Daniel's single barrel, you'll get the note I'm talking about. Super simple. Toasted banana bread. Poppin'. Now, for the palate. All right, on the palate. Beautiful. Super thick viscosity, and it feels rather balanced when you're just leaving it on that tongue, and you kind of give it a bit of a Kentucky chew, but you're still leaving it there. Gives you a good heat at the, say, the center of your tongue. Even though you're like flicking that sucker around, coating your whole mouth, it's just living at the center there. Good level of heat. Perfectly balanced, in my opinion. But once you kind of let it sit there for a little bit longer, you're going to start to see a lot more of those like caramel and maple notes kind of come through, because it's obviously interacting with your saliva, proofing it down, and giving you a different kind of flavor experience there. So you're losing a little bit of that heat, but you're getting some of those like more delicious kind of notes there. Now for the finish, I just knows this stuff all day. Okay, start off, pro tip. So as you're, because once we're dealing with like 64.5% whiskey, 64.5% ABV whiskey, or 129 proof, you're hitting almost 130 proof. People that don't actively consume my content will just be like, no water, like no sir. So good way if you're with me and I'm like, hey, have this whiskey at like 129 proof. Once you take it down, you're going to feel it hit here. Just breathe out. Breathe out is the best way to kind of combat that, say, that alcohol burn that you think you'll get. Just breathe out, breathe through it. Deep exhale. And it's like magic. Now, I 100% lost where I was at, so I have to go for another taste. Alright, so just for that finish there, it's definitely a long finish of just like this maple charcoal. So obviously that maple and those sugars and like that, and this toasted oak note. So as they kind of get this maple wood and they chop it up, create this big stack, and they pour Jack Daniel's on it, and they light it on fire, and that is what they're using to basically create, not basically, they are creating this 10 feet of maple charcoal in this giant tank. As they run the whiskey through it, it is definitely pulling that influence through it. So from memory, they said it takes 2 days for the drop to start at the top and up at the bottom. I don't know how true that is, but that is, yeah, I guess one of those little facts they shared with us at the distillery. It's just from memory from like 2018. I could be wrong, but I think he said about 2 days to run, or it was 2 days for a whole barrel. It was 2 days was involved. Whiskey top to bottom, 10 feet, maple charcoal. You guys get the idea. So as I said, there's plenty of sweetness there. Sweetness as in like maple sugars, that oak influence as well, but it was more of like that toasted oaks, obviously coming from that maple charcoal, plus the barrel influence as well. There's just so much going on there. But then there's also, like, as you kind of take that down, let it sit for a little bit, you're getting this Kentucky hug. It's like, even though it's Tennessee whiskey, and it's just this light pepperiness there as well that you can obviously identify, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of lingering a little bit, but it's not obtrusive. Like it's more enjoyable. It's not heavy. Like me drinking this, I understand it's barrel strength, but I don't feel like it's barrel strength. It's just kind of one of those drops. But as I kind of prooped it down, I got some bold AF caramel, but no oak, just like a little bit of light pepper there as well. I did write down that pepperiness was lingering just at the back of the tongue there, as I kind of took it down, but that's obvious. So we're going to lean into that buy, bar, or pass. Now, there's obviously a method that I use to determine whether I tell you guys to buy, bar it, or totally pass on it. Obviously, that is brand bashing if I tell you to pass on it, but at the end of the day, I want to provide you guys with the most user-friendly experience for you guys to taste bottles that I am tasting. So, I'll start from the top, and it is pretty much standard pricing for Jack Daniel's barrel strength. So we have paid anywhere between $150 to $175. Obviously, it's at the top end at $175, but obviously as well, like there's a tight barrel at 160 units, and like tax laws in Australia is nuts, hence why it's proof to 164.5 and not at the beautiful 165.4 that I picked up from the White Rabbit bottle shop in Lynchburg, Kentucky. Y'all can have that. Now, next up, those bold maple notes just kind of hit different. 17 minutes. Y'all getting this for free. Yeah, bold maple notes up top, and it's just so sweet. And that's what I love about Jack Daniel's as well, is like when you start getting to the barrel strength and actually moving outside of like the old number 7, it just gets funky, and you're getting toasted banana bread and maple and like pepperiness. Like that's really all you need is like toasted banana bread and maple, and like you're done. Let's go. But on the finish there's a real punchy oak note as well, and it just pops, and like I can't even, but at the same time, and you guys know I'm real bad for this, but like Jez and Jack Daniel's is like love you guys. There's like, it doesn't get any better than that, and I'm a whore for Jack Daniel's, obviously. So I may as well wrap it up there, and you guys know exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm going to mark that down as a buy, because it's just Jack Daniel's barrel strength. I love it. But you also can't buy it because I'm doing this like 6 months later. So best of luck finding one. I think you might have to like mug Ray in the street to actually get your hands on some. Don't mug Ray. I love him. He's a good human. But this is some of mine. So I'm going to sip this one gently. Hopefully we see more in Australia. Hopefully Ray released a second barrel pick, and you guys can obviously get access to some. All my Americans kind of jump in at that 65.4 and enjoy it at true barrel proof, because we get that barrel strength here because of tax laws, and it's proof down. So yeah, not a good time, but we love it all the same. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love every single one of you. Hopefully you enjoyed episode 127. Shame it couldn't be 129, because that would have been amazing and it would have made Jacob happy. So we're not here to please Jacob, but I am. So he's a good human. Anyway, love you guys so much. Hopefully you enjoyed this Whiskey Wednesday. I'm Jez. Stay thirsty. Peace.